Water is life, so they say, but rivalry over supplies can lead to bitter conflicts. You can see here that since the mid-20th century, the planet's seen nearly 180 conflicts connected to water resources. These include both small and large-scale clashes, a lot of them in the Mideast and Africa. Well, you might be surprised to hear that it's water rather than oil there that could be what's fought over in the coming years. Paula Sleer reports now from Israel.
The Bible tells us that within a short distance from here, Jesus turned water into wine. 2,000 years later, the greater miracle might be turning the wine back into water. Babi Caballo has been living in the Golan Heights for over 30 years. Each day he attends to his vineyard and orchards, keeping his wine in a cellar that was once a Syrian bunker. He is proud of the wine he produces, but knows that in the absence of water, none of this would be possible.
Water is important because it's the second main resource that we have other than the land. Each crop needs water, and without it you will destroy all the crops and destroy all of the farming here. It can turn the Golan Heights into a desert.
And it's not just about the Golan Heights. Rainwater from its catchment feeds into the River Jordan, providing a third of Israel's water supply. The disputed region was seized from Syria after the Six-Day War, and residents of the Golan remember that water was a key issue in the conflict.
Anyone who stands here understands the importance of the Golan for the water supply of Israel, because every drop of water that is draining here on the Golan is flowing to the Sea of Galilee. So we can say that it is a must for the state of Israel to have control over these water sources.
It's a worldwide rule that whoever controls the water controls the land. But the problem is, in some places, there's very little water to go around.
When you have a common water resource shared by several sovereign nations, there's always a possibility of clash of interests. Conflicts that should be manageable will spin out of control.
And examples of possible conflicts are plentiful. Syria's major water sources travel through Turkey and Iraq, making it vulnerable, while Jordan is reliant on a river where Syria built a dam. Egypt also recently expressed concern over countries using the Upper Nile to generate electric power. In the dry landscape of the Middle East, water is a prize more precious than diamonds. In its absence, famine and drought are quick to follow. But this is a region that very seldom needs an excuse for war, and water shortages might just tip the balance. Paula Sleer, RT, in the Golan Heights.
Now, as Paula mentioned in her report, Egypt's locking horns over water supplies with Ethiopia, which is building a dam on the Nile. But Egypt, which is massively dependent on the same supplies, is worried the project might leave its entire population with no water when it comes online in 3 years. Political science professor Said Sedek predicts tension will boil over.
We have to remember that Egypt has only 6 to 7% of its land arable land. The rest of the Egyptian territory is desert, barren desert. So that can really be serious, affecting national security. And that's why immediately when the Ethiopian raised the issue of the high dam, there were some experts here in Egypt who were talking about military option and going into a war with Ethiopia, because if you cut water on us, we will be dying. 85% of the water, Egyptian water, comes from Ethiopia, and so it's serious. In fact, in 2050, Egypt will be 150 million people, and we would be needing, in addition to the 55.5 billion cubic meter, we need 21 billion cubic meter extra. From where do we get it? And if Ethiopia now controls the meager 55.5 cubic meters, what would happen to Egypt in the year 2050 if we don't have more water?
And Mideast Affairs journalist Adel Darwish thinks nations have no choice but to rationally share their common supplies and not politicize their disputes.
As the population grow and as agriculture grow and urban views grow, there's always water is dwindling, that probably will reach a point or hardly any fresh water left on the planet. That could be averted if the idea I was exploring a while back, what we call a water bank, i.e. the rivers or water resources shared among nations, if they can quantify the usage of it, what they use for agriculture, what they use for urban, and what they use for power generation, and compensate each other by sort of making the water dollar or the water pound or whatever, and then they quantify it into more cooperative projects. But, you know, giving the human nature and nature of politicians, I'm probably not very optimistic.